Hey, everybody. I'm Chris Thomas, and this is Land Flipping 101, where you can learn how to earn your financial freedom through land investing, even if you're a complete beginner with no experience. Today, we're going to talk about deal funding because I saw questions posted in the group from KJ Frederick. He said, deal funding, what are the advantages of using it and the disadvantages? And then Jeremy Sayers asked where to find investors. But first, I had a question I saw from Denny Supley. So she asked effective ways to sell. And Denny, I'd like to say on that, the number one way to get all is to just get all of the due diligence complete before listing it. I feel like that goes without saying, but you asked effective ways to sell. So there are layers to that. First, you have to make sure you know everything about the property. The answers, the questions people are going to be asking you when you're trying to sell the property, and then understanding what can be done with your property. Then creating a place online where you can point people to gather the necessary information about, like if you have a survey, if there's been a perk test, if you have any zoning ordinance links or information. And then you just go ahead and post your listing on the MLS, on Facebook Marketplace, and in Craigslist. Look for all the places online where people are searching for land or just searching for property in general online, and in the area where your property is located, because sometimes you can find very geographically specific places to post it. And then just make sure your listing is showing up there. Okay, I hope that helps. Hi, Sam. Good to see you back. Hi, Ben. Hi, James. All right. Well, today I thought I would just share with you just the advantages of using deal funding, or just really the options that are available for deal funding. I mean, obviously you can pay cash for a deal. You can double close. You can use a line of credit. You can use hard money lending or a land mortgage. You can use transactional funding, which some people call simultaneous, some people call bridge loan. You can find a funding partner. And then, of course, you know that you can assign it or wholesale it. Now, obviously, the easiest solution to funding your deal would be just to pay cash. But not everyone has a huge chunk of change in the bank. And if you do, have access to cash, this is your best option. The quickest way to close on a property without, giving away a lot of your profit or really any of it. And have you heard of a double closing? I say that kind of as a joke because I feel like everybody's heard of it. Hi, Kenny. Welcome. So a true double closing means that you buy and sell the property in the same transaction, using the buyer's money to pay the seller. And in a double closing, where you are using the end buyer's funds to pay the seller, some states may require you to disclose this to the end buyer, where they will end up seeing what you paid for the property. Now, this is not true in all states. A double closing is by far the most recommended way to fund your deal. However, may not be an option depending on the state's regulations. And also, you got to look at the title company's policies. When interviewing a new title company or an attorney, just be sure to ask them if they will do a double close and explain that the buyer's money will be used to purchase the property. So you shouldn't have to bring any money to the table. And then also just ask if it's required that you disclose that to the end buyer. So most often the way that I do it is with a line of credit, which is also known as just a personal loan. And this can be either from your home's equity, it could be a personal line of credit, it could be a credit card. Just be sure to pay it back as soon as you get paid by the title company, because I've lived in my home for a long time, and so it's now worth more than what I paid for it, which means that I have equity in my home. So I could refinance and just take all that money out, and then I would just start with a new mortgage. Or what I like to do is just draw on a line of credit against that equity, which the bank gives me at a lower interest rate. And I don't have to apply for another loan when it comes time to do my land deal. It's just there for me whenever I need it. It's much less of a hassle. So I just transfer money, or I borrow the money from myself in the morning to fund the deal to buy the property. And then by the end of the day, the end buyer has funded his end, and I can receive my initial payment back plus my profit. My closing agent is so great. He will just wait to fund the purchase until after the end buyer has funded his purchase, just to protect me, because he knows my strategy and we've done so many deals together. We work great together. So good to see all of y'all here. Hi, Jaron. Welcome. Okay, so there's also hard money lending, and that's usually associated with flipping houses, but there are some that also provide funding for land. And so you can consider this type of funding if you plan on purchasing the property up front and don't have an end buyer lined up just yet. Meaning you may hold on to the property for a few months to a year while you're trying to sell it. And I think this is a last resort to funding your deal, since a very small percentage of private and hard money lenders in the United States will consider land as a collateral for loan. And the reason no one wants to end up owning a piece of land, the lenders don't want to end up owning it, because they're always thinking about the worst case scenario. Private lenders are, and banks, and things like that, people like that. So if you default on the loan and they have to foreclose, they may end up owning the property. So in order to justify the risk of lending on vacant land, the lender will be much more conservative than they are with loans for improved properties. So we could get into the guidelines for getting land loans and all of that. I don't want to go into all of that right now. I just thought, I'd give you sort of an overview on that. And then there's transactional funding, which is also called a bridge loan. And I do a lot of these also. This is where I'm still using my own line of credit, but I'm doing a simultaneous close. So this is where transactional funding is good when you want to do a simultaneous close, but a double close using the buyer's money is not an option. Some states don't allow that. And so this can be accomplished just by finding a private company or an investor that will lend you the money basically for 24 hours. It's also known as a bridge loan because it provides the bridge you need to connect your purchase with your sale, no matter how big or small the transaction is. And there's usually a flat rate plus an interest on the bridge loan. And during the closing, title companies will process the loan similar to a mortgage. It just gets paid off on the back end and closing during the buyer's transaction. You know what I mean? So you'll see all the charges on the settlement statement. The best way to find these companies is just to ask around the land investing chat groups for recommendations. And you can also get bids for your deal and compare the fees and costs. Transactional funding is a great way to close a deal but not give up too much of your net profit.